teaches you the difference between imprisonment and freedom. And I keep coming back to this because it's very subtle, but it's very pervasive. You say, what you're telling me sounds like hard work. What you're telling me sounds like something that may be impossible for me. And you know what? I'm not suffering that much. What I'm experiencing really feels like quite a bit of freedom. That subtle suggestion causes you not to look clearly at what we're talking about. It causes you to not be clear in terms of black and white about what works and what doesn't. It causes you not to look at the fact that underneath everything that's happening in your life, you're not really experiencing what you want. You're not really experiencing the freedom you would like. You're not really experiencing joy consistently and continuously and fully. You're not really experiencing peace. And when I use the word peace, I mean what peace really is, which is a state of mind in which there is no experience of vulnerability. You're not experiencing that, and you know it. Don't be afraid to look honestly and deeply into yourself in this way. Because if you will look honestly and deeply into yourself, you'll realize just how little freedom you're experiencing, just how little happiness you're experiencing, just how little invulnerability you're experiencing. And I wager to say that if you're really honest with yourselves, you find no place in you that's invulnerable. If you're not experiencing invulnerability, you are in prison. You are not experiencing freedom. You're not experiencing your birthright. And if you will not be fuzzy and lovey-dovey spiritual in your mind, God is love and He will take care of me, and I will abide in the cozy feeling those words give me. If you don't engage in that, and you take a practical look, you will see that the payoff you've been fooling yourself into believing you're getting has been an emptiness, has been nothing. And when that registers with you and sinks in, you'll say, damn it, I'm not putting up with this anymore. I'm going to abandon my will. I'm going to abandon what I've thought free will was. And my one last act of will that I'm going to engage in is to say, Father, show me your will. I am not going to introduce what I thought was my will into the mix anymore. I am here, Father, waiting to hear from you. I am here, Holy Spirit, waiting for your guidance. Your last act of will be to abandon it, to not use it. insanity, you say. No. Because if you will abandon it, really abandon it, like jumping into the deep end of the pool, where there's no way to get to the side, you will become determined to do what it takes to hear. And as the Father's will is revealed to you, the Father's will for you is revealed to you, it will also be revealed to you as an experience that that's what you feel, that that's what you will also, and you will recognize yourself in it. And you will gladly express it from there. And you will be free. Again, you cannot make this distinction between imprisonment and freedom without Him, the Holy Spirit. That is because you have taught yourself that imprisonment is freedom. You didn't know you did that. But if you want to know the truth, the key to the door of your cell is the free will that you prize so highly. That you value because it promises to you that through its use you can achieve anything. That's the hooker. It says you can achieve and do anything you set your will to. Wow, what an ego trip. Now, in order to get out of the cell, you've got to take your will and put it in the lock and unlock the door and walk out, leaving the key behind. You have taught yourself that imprisonment is freedom. Believing them to be the same, how can you tell them apart? Can you ask the part of your mind that taught you to believe they are the same to teach you the difference between them? No. The Holy Spirit's teaching takes only one direction and has only one goal. His direction is freedom, and his goal is God. Now, I know I'm beating this into the ground, but you need to hear it over and over again for clarity. His direction, meaning the Holy Spirit's, is freedom, and his goal is God. But the Holy Spirit is nothing more than your right mind. It's not something separate from you. It's the very essence and wholeness of you. So, your right mind's teaching takes only one direction and has only one goal. The goal of your right mind is constantly being implemented by it. In other words, the sanity of you is constantly implementing it in your awareness to whatever degree you're willing to stand in receipt of it and embrace it. So the Holy Spirit, your right mind, is intent upon integrating what seems to have become disintegrated. And so you, in your tiny sense of yourself, retracing your steps home, are not doing it all by yourself, against overwhelming odds. You have an ally, your very own active, present sanity, which at the moment you're dissociated from and which you don't recognize. So I want you to understand that this process is a process of your very own capital B being. A movement of integration that is intent upon accomplishing its goal. And the marvelous part about it is that when it's accomplished, your whole trip back home into your sanity will not be able to be attributed to anything else. And you will feel the integrity of you in the movement and what I'm going to call the reawakening. Thus, you will not get into the kingdom of heaven on someone else's shoulders. And you will not be where you're not ready to be. Again, the Holy Spirit's teaching takes only one direction and has only one goal. His direction is freedom and his goal is God. Yet he cannot conceive of God without you because it is not God's will to be without you. When you have learned that your will is God's, you could no more will to be without him than he could will to be without you. Now, here's a wonderfully distracting question, one that challenges what's the truth of what's being said, and one that could pique your curiosity. When you have learned that your will is God's, you could no more will to be without him than he could will to be without you. And the distracting question is, well, then how did I will to be without him in the first place? And I'm telling you it doesn't matter, because you are in prison, and it is not your birthright to be in prison. And so everything that can possibly be done needs to be done for you to regain your sanity. So just accept it. It doesn't matter how you got in the mess. It matters for you to get out of it and know how to stay out of it. And so get about the business of getting out of it. And don't delay getting out of it by saying, I'm not going to move 1 inch until you explain to me how I did the impossible thing of managing to get a divorce from God. The simple fact is, you didn't get a divorce from God. You only got a divorce from God in your imagination. And waking up is grounding you and getting you out of your imagination. When you have learned that your will is God's, You could no more will to be without him than he could will to be without you. This is freedom, and this is joy. Deny yourself this, and you are denying God and his kingdom, because he created you for this. When we said, all power and glory are yours because the kingdom is his, this is what we meant. Because the kingdom is his, because creation is his, and you are his creation, and his creation is the extension of all that he is, then all power and glory are yours, because the kingdom is his. This is what we meant, : the will of God is without limit, and all power and glory lie within it. It is boundless in strength and love and in peace. It has no boundaries because its extension is unlimited, and it encompasses all things because it created all things. By creating all things, it made them part of itself. You are the will of God, because this is how you were created. Because your Creator creates only like himself, you are like him. You are part of him who is all power and glory, and are therefore as unlimited as he is. To what else, except all power and glory, can the Holy Spirit appeal to restore God's kingdom? His appeal, then, is merely to what the kingdom is, and for its own acknowledgement of what it is. When you acknowledge this, you bring the acknowledgement automatically to everyone, because you have acknowledged everyone. Your vision has become infinite, all-inclusive. And so what you are aware of, you bring, you share with everything infinitely. By your recognition, you awaken theirs. And in very practical terms, what that means is that by your recognition of what is true, you have withdrawn from the mutual agreements that keep the illusion or the dream going. And in that weakening of the dream, you contribute to their seeing the truth. By your recognition, you awaken theirs, and through theirs, yours is extended. Awakening runs easily and gladly through the kingdom in answer to the call of God. This is the natural response of every son of God to the voice of his Creator, because it is the voice for his creations and for his own extension. Well, I hear you saying that when you have ahas, when you have light bulbs that go on in your mind, where what is true is uncovered to you more completely, and you share it, what the awakening of it doesn't run easily and gladly through the kingdom. So what in the hell does this mean? It sounds very unrelated to real life, right? Well, I'm going to put it this way. If you would imagine creation as a great circuit board, where every aspect of creation was a point in the circuit board, and the circuitry of the circuit board connects every single point of creation. When truth is known, when truth is consciously experienced, it courses through the circuit board, and every single point on that board receives the impulse. Now, some of those little points on the circuit board are still very intent on expressing their free will. They are practicing the blocking of the conscious experience of the impulse that's going through the circuit board. And so they don't feel it, they don't see it, except perhaps as a slight intrusion upon their privacy, which they reinforce. So, let it be known that whether you see evidence of the good news running freely through the brotherhood or not, the impulse has reached them. Now, what if 50% of the brotherhood are engaged in self-will? It means that 50% of the points on the circuit board are actively blocking the experience of the impulse, of the conscious awareness of truth that the other 50% are consciously experiencing. They're blocking it, but they're still in receipt of it. Every time you manage to listen and you feel the impulse of love and you extend it, the point you are on the board becomes illuminated. Even if it's just a little bit initially, it becomes illuminated. And it means that now, we'll say, 49.999% of the board is less illuminated. You are contributing to the lessening of the density of the dream, the lessening of the darkness. So do not let yourself become discouraged just because these beautiful words seem not to be relevant. By your recognition, you awaken theirs, and through theirs, yours is extended. Awakening runs easily and gladly through the kingdom in answer to the call of God. Well, it does run naturally and easy through the kingdom. So don't stop. Because I promise you that each step you take lessens the density of the willfulness that those indulging in self-will have available to energize. And so what you're doing counts. Again, awakening runs easily and gladly through the kingdom in answer to the call of God. This is the natural response of every son of God to the voice of his Creator, because it is the voice for his creations and for his own extension. The Father extends, and it's called the Son. And the Son feels the impulse and extends to his brothers and sisters, and in doing so, makes it his own. Your creations are God's creations given away with love that make what you've given away that was received from the Father's yours. The Father extends himself to you as you, but that doesn't make it yours. Until you give it away, you haven't taken a stand, have you? You haven't declared yourself. Well, today I'm going to think for myself, and I'm not going to declare the Father's will. I'm going to declare mine. So you haven't stood in receipt of what was given, even though it's in your lap to receive. And you give away your will, your determinations, not realizing that what you're giving away is nothing. When you're willing to say, "Thy will, not mine, be done," and you let yourself stand in receipt of the gifts of God and accept them by passing them on to your brothers, they become your creations. Not creations that you made up out of whole cloth, but God's creations that you've made your own by not withholding them from your brother and sister. And then your brother and sister pass it on. And infinity is like an incredible gifting process. That gives back to God the recognition of what God is, making his creation his. And there is the singularity. And in your fitting in this way, which violates your current definition of free will, you experience freedom. And the meaning of the words, "Behold, I make all things new," becomes your conscious experience. And you will no longer seem to be stuck in repetition, in cycles of life that repeat themselves over and over and monotonously over again. You now have grounds for making the choice. And you now have the encouragement for making the choice. And instead of letting it sound like a bunch of unnatural hard work, let there be an awakening in you of a sense of exploration and delight at the discovery of things of great value for you, so that you can proceed with enthusiasm. I look forward to the day when you will have the full conscious experience of just how much I love you. And I look forward to being with you next week.